All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 6 o'clock, so I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Edgefield County Council meeting on January the 3rd, 2023. Get used to saying that, right? So it's good to see everybody tonight. Thank you for being here. We're going to, first, I just want to, for those of you who attend council meetings or those that watch them, may notice there is a new face on the council, Jerry Moody. Welcome to Jerry as a new council member. And like all of us, he'll be sworn in tonight. So we're going to begin with the invocation. I want to make sure, is Reverend Willie Patton here? Did I miss him? Is Willie Patton here? Okay, then we're going to have the invocation led by our clerk, Aretha Eubanks. I'm sorry, I'd like our clerk to do it, but thank you. I appreciate that. Right. So I'd like our clerk, if she would, to lead that, and it'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone will please stand.
May we please bow our heads for prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you right now, God, first and foremost to say thank you, God. Thank you, Lord, for allowing us to be here this afternoon, God. But right now, Lord, I'm petitioning you, God. I'm petitioning you from a servant who looks to you for all leadership, for all help, and for all comfort. Lord, I present to you my counsel, God, Edgefield County Council, Lord. I present them to you, asking you to cover them from the top of their head to the sole of their feet. And to the body, God, that is here, Lord, I ask the same thing for them, Lord. I ask that you allow this meeting to be, even in the midst of a disagreement, to be an agreement, so that we all may be able to be on one accord and be as one community, as one God. So, Lord, I petition you. I look to you. I depend on you to see to this council and see to this community so that we all shall grow together as one, Lord, and in your kingdom, God. May we all return home, Lord, under your grace with no hurt, harm, or danger, and all our homes are in order. I love you, I serve you, and I will forever honor you. And in Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Next, council, is the approval of the agenda, and before we get to that, there's no real good place for me to do this early on, so I was going to do this here, so I'll just call this a point of personal privilege. I'd like for our Building and Planning and Assistant County Administrator, Doc Hart, to please introduce our new IT person we have here tonight.
So, Peter Detmers right there is our new IT director. Some of you got to meet him at the Employee Appreciation Dinner, but I wanted to make sure that those of you that weren't able to attend or weren't here when he was here had the opportunity to greet him. He has been working for us for about 2 weeks now, and everything will be getting slowly transferred over to him for IT over the course of the next month.
Okay, thank you, and welcome. Welcome. Good to have you. All right, council, for the approval of the agenda, I will point out a couple of things, nothing to change, but for you and for everybody else. First, working our way backwards, there is an executive session at the end, so council, we do have an executive session. And then also, you will notice item 13 on the agenda is a new item that we're adding this year called Report from County Council Members. And for the public, this is how this will be used. There is no real place on the agenda for a county council member, unless you're the chair or the vice chair. There's not really a place to talk about things that you either have a report on, and I'll give you some examples. We've had county council members who've served on other committees that have done, for instance, IT kinds of work with Aiken Co-op and working with them on getting more internet access in our county, litter control types of updates that a council member may have. So for council, there may be times we have nobody commenting at that time, but sometimes maybe all four of you want to do something, and me too. So it's open there, and we get to that. I'll just open it for council, and then we'll move on after that with the regular agenda. Now, that's all that I have on the agenda. Before I ask for the approval, is there anything else we need to take up or change about this agenda? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Talbot makes the motion and Dr. Kenyon seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Next is, the next two items, the swearing in and the election of chair and vice chair, is handled by our attorneys, so I'll call on Andrew Marine to handle those next two chores for us.
Welcome, council members. Under our ordinances, it's my duty to swear you in for a 2-year term. So I ask that you please stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me. Okay. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I am duly qualified,
that I am duly qualified,
according to the Constitution of the state,
according to the Constitution of the state,
to exercise the duties of the office
to exercise the duties of the office
to which I have been elected,
to which I have been elected,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve and protect and defend
and preserve and protect and defend
the Constitution of this state
the Constitution of this state
and of the United States.
and of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we need to elect a chairman and a vice chairman. That's also under our ordinances. So I have ballots for each of you. And if you can check the choice you have for chairman, and then after that, we'll do the vice chairman.
Thank you.
Rita, do you want to help count the ballots?
Yes, I will, sir.
Congratulations, Mr. Campbell. You've been reelected as chairman for the next 2 years.
Thank you, and thank you to council.
And then we will also have the vote for vice chairman. It's not like the speaker election. Congratulations, Mr. Towers. You've been reelected as vice chairman.
Thank,
I wish you all
thank
well
you,
next
thank you, and thanks to the council members.
All right, congratulations, and
Okay.
thank you, Mr. Marine. So with that, we'll continue with the agenda, which next is special recognition. This is a recognition that we are sort of having a two-part. Last meeting in December, we recognized our 9 and 10-year-olds for their football championship, but there were so many players and parents that we couldn't do it all in one meeting, or we'd have busted the seams of this place. So we had to do it over 2 meetings. So tonight, we're going to recognize the 11 and 12-year-old football champions. So I'll turn it over to Nick Waits if he'll take us through this, I believe it's a ring ceremony.
I just want to recognize our 11, 12-year-old youth football team. They finished the regular season 10-0, won the regular season, and then went to the playoffs and won the championship, finishing the year 12-0. So I was going to call out to each kid for them to come out and get a championship ring. Benny Mobley. Carson Rogers. Banks Bowie. Bryson Brooks. Vicarious Cummings. Ariel Pogue. Helms. Bryson Mims. Not here. Brady Wood. Not here. Donata Morgan. Marion Booton. No. Josiah McKinney. Kill Barnes. Kill Barnes. And Kyan Watkins. And then I want to recognize our coaches, Marion Barley.
So we're gonna call on,
Picture,
I think,
yeah.
Dr. Kenyon, do you? I thought you'd do yours first.
On behalf of the Recreation Board that I represent for Edgefield County, we're asking, can all these coaches please stand for a minute? Coaches. I would like to say, you counseled and guided our children with love and support. You gave them advice when they felt like giving up or when they just wanted to vent about school, homework, or another player. But yet you still provided leadership and teamwork. You taught and nourished, and because of you, they flourished. Congratulations to you for winning the championship and for teaching our young men the true meaning of sportsmanship. Thank you so much. Now to our parents, could you please stand? Parents. Behind every baseball player who believes in himself is a baseball parent or parents who believe in him first. So when a parent signs their child up for baseball, they commit themselves into adopting. I said baseball. So now y'all know I'm human, right?
She didn't say cheerleading.
Didn't say cheerleading.
She didn't say cheerleading.
Behind every football player who believes in himself is a football parent or parents who believe in him first. So when a parent signs their child up for football, they commit themselves into adopting at least 2 or 3 more kids. I know I did. Parents during practice or the day of the game, I know you feel bad when you had to go to that store and just bought 1 Gatorade. Then had to turn around and go back and get 12 or 13 more Gatorades. I understand it. Realize now that you have adopted a whole team and now everyone gets a Gatorade. So I still understand that. We now, as a parent or parents, you go above and beyond to make sure everything runs smoothly because it's what we do. And at the end of the day, you are still your child or your children's biggest supporter. Thank you for being here. Now to our champion. Can you please stand? I'm gonna get this right. I'm gonna get it right. I'm gonna get it right. Soccer. To our champions. Talent win games, but teamwork and intelligence win championships. You have proven this is to be true to the county. We are so proud of each and every one of you. Thank you for the pride you displayed over the course of the season. You guys have built a solid foundation for next year. Thanks again for the hustle and the effort each and everyone has given. Great season, you guys, and congratulations. Thank you.
So we need to do a photo. So if we can get the players to please come up here and the coaches, we'll come up here and you'll stand up here and face the audience and we'll be behind you. How about that? So council, we can just probably stand right here like we did last time. So yeah, you want to come up? Doesn't matter, just as long as we can see all y'all together.
Be able to see y'all.
Gotta be able to see you.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations, and there's no penalty if anybody needs to leave at this point, because it's a school night, and I understand. So feel free, if you want to stay for the whole meeting, but if you don't want to, I'm understanding. So let everybody give a chance to exit before I move on, council.
I couldn't pull that off, but you can. You might.
Okay, we have, we'll move on with the agenda then. We have we have a guest speaker tonight, Lucille Burton. She's representing the Edgefield County African American Heritage Commission, so I will call on her now. Ms. Burton?
Good evening to the council. I hope everyone had a lovely holiday, and I hope everyone have a blessed 2023. My reason for being here tonight, back in June, Chairman Campbell put in a newspaper an ad for those who might be interested in forming an African American Heritage Commission. And a few of us signed up, and we came in, and he brought in a young lady from the state chapter of the African American Heritage Commission. She gave us lots of good information and just kind of laid out a roadmap of how we could get started. And through work and determination, we have come quite a ways in these last 6 months. I would like for some of our members and our president and vice president to stand, and our assistant secretary, and any other members that are here from the African American Heritage Commission. Thank you. And these people have been working hard, and I appreciate everything they have done. And our mission really is to promote the history and document the history of the African American citizens in Edgefield County. What we have been doing is working on our bylaws and getting our constitution together. And at this point, we are ready to move forward with our 501c3, as well as doing some other filings. So I come before you tonight requesting seed money so that we may accomplish those goals. And really, I work with a very great group of people, and we are working hard. And I do know this, and I'll say this from the bottom of my heart: we will do Edgefield County proud, because the state is the only organization of this type. Edgefield County will be the first African American Heritage Commission. So we are the Edgefield County African American Heritage Commission. And because we're doing African American history doesn't mean that our membership is solely for African Americans, because I know some people that know more history about my heritage or my ancestors than I do. So it is a county-wide thing. And when I say Edgefield County, I'm talking about the old Edgefield district, the entire district, which some of you know stretch pretty far and pretty wide. So we want to bring all this history to life and put Edgefield County on the map. We have a lot of things planned to do, and that's where we are at this point. So that's why I'm here tonight.
Any questions from council?
Summed it up.
Well, thank you, Ms.
Well,
Burton.
I thank you all for hearing me.
And you're on the agenda later on, council, you probably know, so it will be taken up. All right, so thank you. Next, council, is the approval of the minutes of the December 6, 2022 regular monthly meeting. Were there any questions or comments on the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
All right, Ms. Ireland makes the motion and Dr. Kenyon seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, the motion passes unanimously. Next is our comments from the public. These are items that are on the agenda. And I'll ask the clerk if she'll give me the list of folks who signed up for this first session. I need to remind people, because I think we have some people here who probably haven't spoken at a public comment section before, so I wanted to sort of just remind you of the rules. The rules are that, first, I take you in the order that you signed up. Second, you see on your agenda, it says a maximum of 5 minutes, and we do enforce that. So the clerk at 4 minutes will say 4 minutes. And then when you hit 5 minutes, she'll say 5 minutes. And then that's when I'm going to tell you, thank you, please be seated. And so you've got those 5 minutes. This is not a public hearing, these are public comments. And just another couple of rules. Keep in mind that you can't yield your time to anybody else. If you choose to talk less than 5 minutes, that may open the door for somebody else to talk, because the public comment period cuts off, as you see on the agenda, after 30 minutes. So the less you speak, the more others can get on to speak. And I say that because we got at least, 5, 7, something like that are speaking. And the other thing is, this is your time to speak. This is not our time to debate you or anything like that. We're listening to you. So if you have questions, we'd be happy to try to answer them, but the point is, this is your time, not our time. So if everybody's ready and understands the rules, I am going to start at the top of the list, and let's see, the first person is Gary Rushton. So Gary, would you please come up? And with all of you, would you please, for the record, when you get up here to the microphone, please state your name and where you live, please, and then start your comments.
My name is Gary Rustin. I live on 54 Ann Street in North Augusta. Reason I'm here today is the concern about the animals, dogs that y'all have been hearing on. I live out in, like I said, in the county. The dogs, the barking, you need to take into consideration the surroundings. I'm all about having healthy places for them to stay, well taken care of, but I noticed about the noise ordinance. I had an issue last year with a neighbor, kind of found out she was feeding the cats. I had cats coming through my dog pen, going to her house, and my dog was giving it a hard time. So we fixed that problem. So to let you know that dogs don't bark just to bark. Something's there to cause it. And one of the things you want to look at will be coyotes. Coyotes will get a dog howling any time of the night in the daytime. And that's all I want to say about that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Y'all's time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. Ms. Burton, you signed up. Did you need to speak on anything? No, okay, not a problem. Next is Kathy Ekra.
Happy New Year.
Happy New
I
Year.
want to thank you, Chairman, for getting the Edgefield County African American Heritage Commission started. Bettis Academy is dear and deep in my heart. So I am thrilled, been following progress through the paper, and I am just thrilled with all of the fine, hard work that you have accomplished for Edgefield County. I've got 3 things. The McCracken case, I don't understand how we're not assuming that we're getting it set up for another lawsuit, we need to go back to the beginning, take bids, do a fresh appraisal, do new comps, and get that straight. I mean, otherwise, I could see another lawsuit just coming right around the bend. On the animal ordinances, this is from personal experience. There are a million reasons why a property owner may not be at a home and somebody invading a property for animal control. Property needs to be posted. If we can't get enough enforcement with warrant, at least consider posting on the front and the back of a property a notice when the animal is going to be obtained and what means it's possible, and the enforcer's name and telephone number, because otherwise property damage can be done by somebody, inadvertently forcing themselves in somebody's home, and there's an absolutely excellent reason. But because of a phone call from a neighbor or real estate agent or utility worker, there may be a misunderstanding. So that's my concern on that. And with the Saluda County $100,000, my question is does that first $100,000 go to construction, and will they be billed for their services on an annual basis or a monthly basis? Or is Saluda County going to come on board with just a flat $110,000 and that's it? So that's my concern on that one.
Thank you. And those questions will be answered when we get to the animal, because that is part of that. All right, thank you. Next, we have Nathan York.
Good evening. Nathan York, 269 Cold Springs Road, out in Modoc, I guess is my city. I'm here to talk briefly for the second time that I've had to address this issue before the council. But first, it's concerning the change to Chapter 6 of the ordinance. In accordance with the Constitution of South Carolina, privileges and immunities of the citizens of the state and the United States under this Constitution shall not be abridged, nor shall any person be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Somebody coming onto my property and taking my property, which you have identified in the rewrite to Chapter 6, the owner being the individual who has the property of an animal. So you are saying that the animal is my property. But here in the South Carolina Constitution, you cannot take it without due process of law. So I'm asking, why are we saying also in that same rewrite to the ordinance that the animal control officer has the authority in one paragraph and the right to enter onto my property? I'm sorry, I am not abrogating my rights to my property to anyone. If there is a problem, and it is a problem of law, and I am in violation of that law, then I would expect a duly appointed member of this council, this county, the sheriff's department, to receive a warrant based on affidavit or oath of affirmation and submit that warrant to me for either A, seizure of that property, or B, for me to appear before the court. Then we can talk about due process. But to just come onto my property and say, no, I'm taking it, I'm not happy about that. And twice it says in that ordinance rewrite that they can just enter onto my property. After which, I think it was the second paragraph in Article 2, or Section 2, it says, if I don't allow them into a building or into a gated area, then they can go get a warrant. That's backwards. That's not the way the South Carolina Constitution is set up. I have a right to my property, period. This is the second time now that I've had to address this body concerning this. The first was with the LMO. Now I am told that there is a rewrite, a tightening of that language. And if that's the case, then I will look forward to the tightening of that language and how that's going to come about. But I'm here to say now, number 2 times, I'm talking about this issue, about entering onto my property, getting into my buildings, my homes, my whatever, seizing my property without due process of law. That's my concern. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Mona, pronounce your last name for me. I hadn't,
Desdemona Postalski.
thank you.
I know, 166 Rolling Hills Drive, Trenton. I know that name is horrible. I also have the same concern that Nathan is sharing in regards to anyone coming onto my property unless they have followed due process. I have a gated property now. We have shut it down. My dog is never out anyway. I don't really have an issue. But without a warrant, I'm sorry, I don't want anyone on my property. One, I'm assuming liability if somebody gets injured on my property. I'm not signing up for that. If the animal control officer comes in, we got holes, there's something digging holes in my yard, I don't know what it is, but if he breaks his ankle, I'm liable. I'm not sharing that liability for an illegal, unlawful, and unwarranted entry. Bring Mr. Jody, bring his deputy. If you have a bona fide case, bring the sheriff with you. By all means, do your job the right way, but do not infringe upon the Constitution in any way, shape, or form. It's as simple as that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Rhonda Norwicki. Okay, Rhonda's passing. So next is John Pettigrew.
So I can get this up a little bit higher. Y'all can probably hear me anyway, but does it still go through the recording system? Okay.
Hang on 1 second, John. Hang on. Let her make the adjustment.
Fine, however y'all want to do it. But
Have to adjust it on this end.
that's good. Mr. Chairman, members of council, congratulations on your reelection, and look forward to your service for the next 2 years at least, and maybe many more. But tonight I want to speak to you about the ordinance that's on the agenda, item 2 under new business regarding the sale of the neighborhood center property on Church Street. Before I get into that, yesterday I attended a memorial service for former Aiken Mayor Fred Kavanaugh. Some of you may have known him. Dean, you probably worked with him. It's Fine Riverside. Anyway, yesterday they had a tribute to him downtown, and former city administrator Roger LeDuc, Edgefield County's former county administrator, gave one of the tributes to Mayor Kavanaugh, and in that he stated that Mayor Kavanaugh was known for listening to people, and that he would listen as long as anybody wanted to talk, and that sometimes their meetings would go until midnight or even later, and that his wife would sometimes ask him when he was coming home, and he'd tell her he didn't know. And he said that Mayor Kavanaugh would listen and evaluate what people said, and that sometimes he would change his mind based on comments that he heard. And I think that's a good role model for all of us in our communications, whether it's in our work or whether in our service to the public, to be a good listener. And Roger reminded us of that. But I do still have concerns about the procedures and the way this neighborhood center property is being proposed to be sold. In the proposed ordinance, under the 5th whereas clause, it says the structure would require asbestos abatement at a cost to the county. Now, am interested to know who is requiring asbestos abatement. Is anybody requiring it? A government agency? Has the building been condemned? I mean, it says states the structure would require asbestos abatement.
We'll cover that when we get to the ordinance.
Because, you know, my understanding that asbestos abatement is necessary if you disturb the asbestos, if you're renovating a building, but just because a building may have asbestos, it doesn't necessarily require it to be abated. And then it says here on the ordinance, at a cost to the county. Who's requiring the county to pay for this?
We'll take that up at the.
You take that up? Okay, okay. All right, I just, you know, I understood that the potential purchaser intends to demolish the building and build houses there. But if someone wanted to use the building, I don't think any demolition would be necessary, nor any asbestos abatement. So just wondering about the relevance of that. Back in May of 2021, most of you were here on council at the time, other than Mr. Moody. I asked 3 questions about this property. How much acreage was involved, and that was answered at the meeting, about 3.5 acres. Was an appraisal done? That has been handled in the court system, and now I see you have gotten a new appraisal of $100,000, so I'm glad that that's been done. And I also asked, when and where was the property advertised? And on tonight's agenda, in item 2, under the new business, it states, in spring 2018, Edgefield County Council approved advertising the building known as the Neighborhood Center at 400 Church Street in Edgefield with an asking price of $50,000. I have not seen any copies of any advertising. I asked for it at that meeting in May. I've asked for it in numerous emails since then and have not seen any advertising of the property for $50,000. If it was, then, you know, we've got a situation here where somebody has offered to buy it, but it hadn't been advertised for that to my knowledge. Have any of you got a copy of that advertising tonight for $50,000? Has anybody here seen the advertising for $50,000? I try to read things pretty good, and I hadn't seen it, and I've asked for it in numerous emails to the administrator and to council. And I just think to protect the taxpayers of this county and to give it maximum exposure. When you go to sell something, real estate particularly, you advertise it through signage, you advertise it on maybe a realtor website, Trulia, Zillow, Webster.com, or you'd advertise that on a newspaper ad. But none of that was done. And to protect the taxpayers of this county, I believe we need to table this ordinance and make sure it's advertised before we come back with a proposal to sell it. I know my time's up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's see, next is Megan Pearson.
Megan Pearson, Johnston. I had a stack. I've heard y'all are making changes, so I'd like to wait and see what changes you're going to make. I have a question, though. Are you going to post those changes in that document before the 3rd reading so that everybody can see them and then we can come and talk on them as far as the animal enforcement?
Right, for transparency, I'd want to do that, yes, so everybody would know what to comment on.
Right, right. I will hold this until those changes are made. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, council, let me double check behind myself. I believe that is everyone, yes, that is everyone who has signed up to speak in the first public comment section.
Excuse me, Chairman, there was one that was emailed through.
That's right. We had one that was emailed that said, would we please read it? So I'll ask the clerk if she would read it for this person.
This is coming from Mr. Paul Gustafson. He said, just do the right thing regarding the property at 400 Church Road. Y'all have already cost the citizens over $18,000 regarding one lawsuit. Just advertise and rebid the property. Transparency is a wonderful asset. Thank you, Paul Gustafson, from 501 Hunters Run, Edgefield, South Carolina.
Thank you. All right, council, with that, I will close this first public comment period and move on in the agenda to reports. Council, are there any questions or comments on the reports? Okay, hearing none, we move to old business. The first item of old business is consideration of approval of the second reading of ordinance number 21-22-792 to replace Section, Chapter 6, Animals of the Code of Ordinances. So, of course, I'll ask the administrator if he can walk us through this and take us through some of the things we heard tonight that we need to get answered, please.
Yes, of course. And you need to bear with me a little bit because I made a list as I was listening to the speakers. But the first thing I wanted to tackle is a concern that I heard from a large number of people. It was not addressed tonight, but I do want to address that since this is a public meeting. And that was the concern that we have a set number of days for an animal before euthanasia. I've heard 15 days. There is 15 days in the ordinance. That 15 days pertains to an animal that we may find that has a collar or a microchip. The 15 days is not a timeout until we can euthanize the animal. It's a time that has to elapse, 15 business days, before we can even advertise the animal for adoption, because we suspect it has an owner and we want to let the owner claim the animal. The 5 days is for an animal that doesn't have a collar. We don't think it has an owner, but it could have slipped its collar. It could be, maybe someone doesn't have a collar on it. It's not 5 days until we euthanize the animal. It's 5 days until we can list it for adoption. The one that most people were really upset about is surrendered animals. Let's say you have an animal, maybe you can't take care of it. You bring it to animal control, you sign it over. There's 0 days before adoption because you've turned it over. There is no owner. The owner has signed it over. Now, euthanasia is mentioned at the end of each of those sections. And the reason it is because if the vet evaluates the animal and says this animal is terminally ill, it's injured, beyond what we can do to help it, or it is an aggressive animal that we can't adopt out. That is why it's there. Sadly, there are animals that are unadoptable. But I just wanted to be very clear on that. There is not a clock ticking on these animals, and such that we have room. There's not a time limit on how long an animal can be listed for adoption. If we have room, then, of course, we'll keep it as long as we can. And then when we can no longer have room for it, we will do our best to get it to a rescue. So I want to make it clear that this is an adoption-centric facility. Just want to be very clear about that. Some people, and it's probably partially our fault. We're going to clarify that language a little bit. Sometimes we in government don't write things as clearly as we should. The second thing, I heard a question concerning farm animals. And on the nuisance ordinance, how would that be addressed? If your rooster's crowing, is someone calling animal control and you're getting in trouble over that? We talked about that today. And we are going to modify the language for noise complaints and odors. We understand, our farmers, you have these situations. So we're going to tweak the language on that. On property entry, this is something that the sheriff can address better than I can. But state law allows a law enforcement officer to enter upon a property to investigate a complaint. And if he wants to speak to that, he can, if you would allow him. Would you like to say a few words on this?
Could you come up here, please?
Good evening.
Thank you.
So, it's not that we want to violate the Constitution. We want to do our jobs and do it as accurately as we can. State law and the police academy teach we have to go to your property upon a complaint to investigate that complaint. No ordinance is going to give us the ability to just walk in and take an animal. No ordinance gives us the ability to go and enter a home, a barn, a building. Kennel, might be some argument there, but we would not do anything along that line, nor does the ordinance say that we'll go on into a property. Exigent circumstances of there is human life at danger, or animal life at danger, that's different. We will go in to take a look to see how serious it is. But boy, that's an extreme circumstance. The court procedure will go as normal as it would be if it was a call for loud music or an assault. We go there, take the necessary information, and go with it from there to the proper court. That's just normal police work.
Thank you.
I would like to add just a little bit to that. There are situations where there will be a court order that animal must be impounded. That's gone through the court process. There could be that someone has been convicted of a violation of this ordinance, and that animal needs to be picked up for some reason. Maybe it bit someone, injured someone. There are situations there, but that moves through the courts where that order is made. Now, as the sheriff said, there are situations where somebody's in danger, someone's being hurt. That's a different story. The other situation that we have to understand is if there's a dog at large that does not appear to be owned by someone, and the animal control officer is trying to get that dog, it may cross multiple pieces of property before he's able to get the dog. I mean, there's all kind of situations like that. It doesn't mean that it's your dog, that it's stored on your property, that it's in your kennel. But the officer, in the course of investigating a complaint or carrying out his duties, may have to cross properties. He may have to enter your property to ask questions. There may be a complaint. It may be nothing to the complaint, but he has to come on your property to investigate the complaint. So anyway, just hope to clarify some of those issues, but that's all I have.
Questions or comments from council?
Mr. York, Mona, and Megan, did Sheriff answer y'all's questions, or do you have anything else for either Major Ramey or Sheriff while he's here?
Please be careful with exigent circumstances or crossing property lines to catch a dog. There's a lot of issues. Somebody could get shot, and I'd hate to see that happen.
I'm concerned about Section 2 being in there at all. It's redundant. If it's already state law, this doesn't need to be stated. The fact that it states that an officer has the right to enter your property, before it states you have the right to refuse it, I have to ask, what happens if I'm not home? I'm not home to say you can't come in without a warrant, whether it's my backyard or whatever the case may be. With this being in there, it looks to me like he's just gonna do what he wants unless I'm not home to say, no, you need a warrant. The language could be, and just one more thing, I'll be done. State law has certain circumstances that law is that enforcement is able to come onto your property. They can't just come onto your property for any other reason. And this just reads as if they can just come in.
Hang on one second. One second.
For emergency purposes, to in pursuit, I mean, put the wording in there.
We are cleaning that up a
And
little.
I think,
I agree
and
with a
listen,
lot
I
of
don't mean I trust my sheriff's department, I trust most of y'all. The word.
Please don't confuse the initial call for service.
Right.
We're gonna send it every out to find
I'm just
out
looking at
exactly what the
wording.
initial call is. Nobody's coming in your home.
I would hope not, but here's the other thing. You're not always gonna be the one on the sheriff's department. And what we allow to become law today is gonna affect our children more than it affects us. Y'all aren't always gonna be there.
And we're going to tighten up that language, yes.
Yes, sir.
20, going down to subsection 2. An animal control officer shall have the right to enter on any public or private property in the county. That needs to be tightened up if under due process, exigent circumstances, what those are exactly. I want to see the police officers protected. I want to see the private rights that you've espoused to under the Constitution for reasonable expectation of property be taken care of as well. It needs to be tightened up to the point where somebody cannot misunderstand and say, hey, I'm just going to arbitrarily and capriciously enter somebody's property, which is a violation of substantive due process. It's our Constitution, it's our rights, they are our officers. I want to see them safe.
Right. Okay.
My comment is common sense with all of it, because if it was a thief or a murderer, you're gonna say, no, you can't get him till I come home to watch him? I mean, we don't allow, yeah, but if you're not there, you got, if you don't like the sheriff, and I'll tell him to his face, I didn't vote for him, I voted for Carter. But if he does his job, let him do his job, and he's gonna teach his officers how to act, because some officers don't have a lick of sense.
Mr. Hudson, you're out of order. You're out of order, Mr. Hudson. I'd ask you to please hold your comments. You're not commenting on the germane part of this topic. So, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hudson.
Just to
Mr. Hart.
clarify some things and calm this a little bit. We already had a meeting earlier today. Megan had brought some of those concerns, Rhonda had brought some of those concerns, and we had discussed it. We've already rewritten the language. Since it was already in the agenda, we did not feel it was appropriate to bring it to this meeting. I do have a copy of it, but we will be posting these changes online for people to read and look at. We've already tightened this language up. We have a few more things that we're going to address, but there will be some changes in the language to tighten everything up between this reading and the next, and people will have an opportunity to go online and read those changes before the next meeting.
And I think a reasonable expectation would be, not a day before the next meeting. It would have to be a week or two before the next meeting. Is that reasonable?
Yes, and
Because there's
I've also written a Q&A that I'm also going to post online that will answer a lot of the common questions that we've already received. And I will make sure that once the sheriff and David have approved the changes of language, I'll change them to a different color, and then I'll just post that in the news portion of the Edgefield County website so that people can go on there and read those and read what was changed in the document.
Yeah, because I think for people here, I'm sure we're hearing things tonight that we still need to go back and change. So over and above what was done today. So it may take a week to go ahead and work through all this legally, making sure we've got the right legal words and things. So just FYI, it won't be up tomorrow. We've got to give us a little bit of time to work on it. So that said. Yes,
Also,
sir.
just as before you start again, getting text messages from people who are trying to watch online, just as a reminder, if it's not spoken into a microphone, people online cannot hear it.
Right. Okay.
I did vote for sheriff. I think he's a damn good sheriff. Been one for years. We got a problem in Edgefield County that I haven't heard nobody talk about. That's coyotes. When one of the coyotes finally get a child and drag it in the woods and kill it, it's gonna be bad. Next door, my sister sits there and feeds her cat on the front porch. That coyote watched her. When she went back in the house, he grabbed one of the cats and gone. You gotta do the same thing with a child. We need it to put a born on it and kill it. They need to be destroyed. More than wild dogs. They're mixing there and breeding with wild dogs. And that's gonna be a real problem. So we need to see about that problem.
Okay. Comments on coyotes for those who are listening. All right, so, Mr. Administrator, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Was there something else you needed to talk to us about relative to this?
No, the only other point is the section on authority to enter that this gentleman spoke of. That is the section that was rewritten, so. And we should have that out within the week. We've done most of it now.
All right, so I'm going to turn back to council and say, council, questions or comments? Anything else?
I just want to say that Mr. Albert and I sat in on the initial, I want to thank, first of all, Sheriff's Department and staff, Doc, for getting the initial document going so we could get here. And then for those of you who don't know the process, they got it together. We met Mr. Albert and I met with Planning Commission, so Planning Commission could have their say on this document and help guide us in the formation of this document. We said at that meeting that it was a good jumping off point, but that there would be tweaks and changes based on comments, and that's what we're doing here tonight. And I just want to thank you. We also said that most of the comments would come from mine or Mr. Albert's district, and that proved to be the case. So, but I just want y'all to know that we are listening and we are working on it, and I hope you see that. We know this is fluid, and it may have to be tweaked. We're starting something new here. This is historical. This animal shelter is an historical thing here, and this is new. We're learning, and we're trying to do it right as we start out, and so we're getting it together, and thank you for all your comments, though. We appreciate it.
Everybody okay? All right. My only comment is that we said from the beginning we wanted public comment on this. And we mean that, because you can see we're making changes. So, we expect there to be even more changes, even after the next time. I'd be surprised if there weren't. There will be an actual public hearing next time, so there won't be a limitation on like the 5 minutes for a public comment period. But in the meantime, we try to make sure people understand. I know most people are very nice and they want to be considerate of our time, but you don't have to wait till you come here to talk to us. We're available the other 29 days of the month also. And the administrator's available 30 days out of the month. So I would tell you can go to him and talk to him anytime too. So, feel free to contact us outside the council room and just like, again, I think it was Ms. Pearson, and y'all got together to talk about some of the changes. Those are good too, to kind of get that one-on-one time, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I just, encourage you to do that too. All right, council, if there's nothing, no other questions or comments, I'll ask for approval for second reading of ordinance number 21-22-792.
So moved.
Okay, Ms. Arlen makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Talbot seconds. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Next, council, is new business, and the first item of new business is consideration of approval to allocate $3,000 to the Edgefield County African American Heritage Commission. We heard from Ms. Burton earlier, and we appreciate her and the other members of the commission being here. I think personally this is a wise investment for Edgefield County, but I'll ask the administrator if there's anything on this that we need to know about.
Just one small thing to do with the funding. If council approves this $3,000 contribution, it would come from county council's contingency fund. There's $36,000 remaining in it, and staff recommends this contribution of $3,000. That's all.
Thank you. Council, comments or questions?
I would like to see if it's possible, once this money's given to you, you can come back after you spend it and show us the receipts for it being spent, for the public can see it if they want to. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I would just like to say this is seed money, startup money. But from here on, like the others, or other nonprofits in the county, now you're on your own. Bake sales, raffle tickets, whatever they're doing, y'all gonna need to do, because we have to tell a lot of people no, but who are already established, because we expect once you're up and running, you carry the weight of your own now, and I expect you will. I think y'all have some good people who know what they're doing in the form of that and fundraising for y'all. So just saying, this is a one-time thing now. You're welcome.
And we also appreciate, because we use the building to meet between here and Bettis Academy, to be fair to the members, because there are a lot of people, folks that live down that way. So we appreciate you extending that service to us, to use the building for meetings. So we appreciate it.
There's nothing else from council. Is there a motion to approve the $3,000 for this commission?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Talbot makes a motion, and I heard a second. Was it Dr. Kenyon made the second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Next is consideration of approval of first reading of ordinance number 21-22-793, an ordinance authorizing the delivery of an agreement of purchase and sale and the conveyance of certain properties between Edgefield County and John McCracken, his successors and assigns. So we've heard some comment on this tonight, so I'll ask the administrator if he'd like to address some of the things that we heard tonight, plus anything else he needs to tell us.
Sure. In spring 2018, council approved advertising the building known as the Neighborhood Center located at 400 Church Street. It was listed for sale in the newspaper, the South Carolina Business Opportunities website. Now it was listed in an RFP format, request for proposals. On that site, there were no offers, there were no proposals. In 2019, the property was listed on GovDeals with an asking price of $50,000. It did receive bids, but they stopped at $47,000, so the building did not sell. It did not reach the minimum. So John McCracken then offered to purchase the property for $50,000. As we've heard, county was required to obtain an appraisal of the property. We did that in August. And the appraisal gave an established value, as it sits now, of $100,000. And the appraisal states that it did not consider environmental factors. These would be things like asbestos, and what to do with it, an assessment, an abatement, disposal of it. So the county asked for a budget number, meaning we asked for a price from a contractor, understanding that we weren't going to be the customer. We weren't going to pay to have this done. And the number came back at $68,000 because we know that the building has asbestos. Now, the building is dated. It has multiple roof leaks. It's not handicap accessible to the second floor. And there's issues with that on the first floor as well. The adjoining building burned down and affected one side of this building. The heat and air system is no good. I've heard the comment that, well, this building could be used as is. And that's just not true. It needs such extensive renovations that one would have to encounter the asbestos, so you would have to do a full assessment and abatement just to renovate the building. So with that in mind, and the fact that the only offer at our minimum we got was $50,000, and the fact that council has voted on 3 occasions to sell it to Mr. McCracken, staff recommends that we sell the building to Mr. McCracken for $50,000. That's all.
And so let me ask a question to the administrator. Based on what you have said and based on my memory of this whole process, the only, I'll call it, other than the $47,000 bid, if you want to call it that we got, it didn't reach $50,000, so council turned that down. We publicly turned that down. Mr. McCracken is the only person to offer $50,000. We've never had another bid.
That's the only one I'm aware of, and I asked the previous administrator. I can find nothing in the file, no indication that anyone ever offered the minimum except for Mr. McCracken. Okay. Or any other offer for that matter.
Right. Okay, questions or comments from council?
Yes, I have a couple of comments. Of course I do. This may have started being advertised in 2018, but this is not new. This goes way before that. As you've heard me say many times, I sat there and covered this for many, many years before that. There was a group that actually wanted this building for, to catch overflow from DHEC, kind of like as an orphanage. They looked at it well before 2018. I covered that for the paper. Every single time this building was mentioned, it was covered in the paper. Every time we mentioned putting it on GovDeals, I wasn't on this council, but it was covered and discussed. This was not a hidden item. This is no backdoor deal being done here. They actually, I mean, it was kind of looking like we were gonna have to give the building away. No one wanted the stinking building, and if you've been in it, you will know why. It's the stinking building. But there was some discussion. Y'all discussed accepting that $47,000 bid. There was real discussion. I sat out there for a few minutes thinking y'all were gonna take that deal. And then at the end, I can't remember why, but no, didn't take the deal. Went back, Mr. McCracken came forward. The reason I am going to vote tonight to go forward with this sale to Mr. McCracken is because the night that and I came in late to this, so let me just tell you, I think maybe I came in on second or third reading. I don't think I came in at the beginning of this, but I did come in to the end of it to cast my vote to go with Mr. McCracken for this. When we did that night, in my opinion, that was a gentleman's agreement to sell this to a man who offered us what we had asked for it. And in good faith, he made an offer to us. We accepted that offer. Basically, to me, that was a handshake to Mr. McCracken. It is the honorable and the right thing to do to uphold that agreement. He did nothing wrong. If you want to talk about lawsuits, the person that would have a lawsuit in my mind would be Mr. McCracken, because he came thinking he did everything right to purchase this building. We shook his hand, basically, when we agreed to sell this to him. It is the right thing to do. It is the honorable thing to do, and I will vote to do that tonight.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council?
I would just like to add, I know I'm new, but I've been working behind the scenes for 6 months, but I'm going to ask the same question to Mr. Marine that was asked before. Do you see anything wrong with this?
The procurement code has been met, it's been advertised, Ms. Ireland just went over the whole process and everything. We've been in litigation over the appraisal issue. The appraisal is a recent appraisal, very recent appraisal. I think we've complied with things. We've been through all the steps. How much longer do we go? Years?
We have done nothing but cost Mr. McCracken money. I mean, we have drugged this out for him. This has been, it's just, yeah.
I feel procurement code has been met with this.
Thank you.
No time deadlines in it.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to say, we have been going over this for quite a period of time. And it seemed like we just beating a dead horse to death. We have other things to move forward on. So I will be supporting it again tonight myself.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from council? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion, remember, and keep in mind, for everybody, this is first reading. So is there a motion to give first reading to ordinance number 21-22-793?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Talbot makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Ireland seconds. Any final discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next, council, is item 3 under new business, consideration of approval to provide a 2.5% employee cost of living increase and salary band adjustment. Again, I'll turn to the administrator to walk us through the details of this one, please.
Yes, thank you. We do propose a 2.5% increase to county employee salaries. This is due to inflation, competition from other jurisdictions. The estimated cost will be $218,000. Now, funds are available in our current budget, and they're available because of temporarily vacant positions we've been unable to fill, and for people leaving their positions. Our budget going forward supports that based on a comparison of the past 3 years at this point in time. Council should be aware that many years ago, cost of living increases were separated from band increases. What that means is if you received a 2% cost of living increase, the pay band, the starting salary, did not move with that increase. What that did is it left that starting salary low as years went by. That made us less competitive as an employer. The Sheriff's Department especially felt this for a long time. So this increase would also do what is standard for employers. It would move the hiring range. This is an increase on the hiring range. So if approved, this increase would be effective the second payroll of January with a pay date of January 19th, 2023.
Thank you.
Questions or comments from council?
So we're basically tying the bands back together.
That's correct.
And the
We're-
cost of
We're
living.
tying standard cost of livings back to pay band movement. Yes.
So for clarity, this is a 2.5% increase for employees, that you, as you say, January, the, whatever it was, 19th, I think, pay. But it would also, that will be in the budget, plus any other increase we come up with as a council in the next budget.
That is correct. This increase would get us to the next budget year. Any increase approved then would be on top of this.
Right, so the 2.5 continues on, is what I'm trying to say.
It does.
It doesn't go away in
Right.
June 30th.
It would be cumulative as you added future increases.
And
Not like a bonus.
this is a mid-year, correct?
This is a mid-year.
And they get their normal raise at the end of the next,
Generally, they do. As I look back, I think one time in the past, there was a mid-year increase. But my predecessor, the interim administrator, Roger Leduc, given the unprecedented inflation that we had, I think he advised council that this may be necessary, and he shared that with me. And as I studied the issue, it certainly is necessary.
this is just not an early raise, this is a raise in addition to their next raise.
If council
Okay, I mean, yeah,
should
yeah.
approve a next
Okay.
raise, yes.
Yeah, and I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah,
That,
yeah, yeah.
that if
The
there's
cost of living increase, which is unlike a bonus, it's unlike a merit increase, this is an increase on everyone's earnings. Yes.
Any other questions or comments from council? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the 2.5% employee cost of living increase?
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Moody makes the motion and Dr. Kenyon seconds. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Next, council, under new business is number 4, consideration of approval of a firefighter training stipend. Again, we've discussed this before, but I'll ask the administrator if he will go through the details one more time.
Certainly, and I have reported on this at the end of each meeting in the administrator reports. And now we have this program put together. So we believe that it's in Edgefield County's best interest to have the best trained firefighters that we can have. So we want to give them a stipend to obtain certifications, level 1, level 2, and emergency medical responder certifications to increase their skill set. We propose a $10 per hour training stipend for this training. And I do want to say that our current EMA director and several members of our EMS are certified to teach the emergency medical responder training here in the county. So we don't have training costs associated with that. Our training coordinators can do that. We do have a cost for materials, books, website, test access for them. But the total cost to do this program for the remainder of this fiscal year is $11,900, and that is to be paid for from the current budget. Now, that is if we have 21 participants, if we have full participation, and their cost of materials and their $10 per hour stipend. That is for the EMR training. As we go into the next budget year, we will budget funds for the firefighter 1 and 2 training. That doesn't mean we won't start them. We will start the firefighter level 1 training, but the number of hours means they couldn't possibly finish before the next budget year. So we would not owe money to them for their stipend. That's all.
And this stipend, the purpose of it would be for now, but also, again, would continue into the next budget year, assuming council approves it.
That's correct. That's correct. We would offer the full EMR class, and that class would terminate this budget year, which is why the $11,900 may be due this year. But the firefighter level 1 class requires 3 times the number of hours, and going to class 1 night a week, 2 nights a week, that would extend well into the summertime before they could complete it. So that would be budgeted money. But we want this program approved such that it's established and they can begin training.
Questions or comments from
We
council?
are doing the first responder as the first course, correct, as we talked about?
We are gonna, that will be the first
Okay.
course, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Well, I would like to say, Mr. Chairman, it's a very good cause, because we know when you have fires, people need to know what they do properly. And so I have no problem with supporting this, you know, as long as they complete they task. But I do have a problem, you know, if they don't complete it, you know. So if you follow up.
Could I speak to that for a second and
Yeah,
just
okay, go
say
ahead. Mhm.
that the entire stipend would be awarded at one time,
Okay.
and it would be awarded upon passing
Okay,
the
okay,
test for the certification.
okay.
Yes,
Okay, that's clear what I had to say. Speak on.
yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments, council, questions from council? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the firefighter training stipend?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Talbot makes a motion, is there a second? Second. Mr. Moody seconds, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Next, council, is number 5 under new business, consideration of approval of an Edgefield Hometown Grant application for renovations to the Edgefield Activity Center, formerly the Edgefield Town Gym, in the amount of $80,000. So again, Mr. Administrator, I'll call on you to talk about a few of the details on this one, please.
So we did receive an application from the town of Edgefield to essentially convert their town gym into more of a multi-purpose activity center. Edgefield County, as you recall, approved $500,000 in hometown grants out of our American Rescue Plan monies for the towns. And this is Edgefield's second request under this program. If they are funded, they will not exceed 1/3 of the total monies. There are 3 towns in the county. But they do propose to do substantial work to improve this facility, from heat and air work to painting pickleball lines on the floors, to getting new chairs and tables, to improving the parking. It looks like a really good plan. Dr. Kenyon and Councilwoman Ireland are on the committee that reviews these projects, and they both expressed their support for the project. And staff recommends it. That's all.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve this application for $80,000?
So moved.
Okay, Ms. Ireland makes the motion and Dr. Kenyon seconds. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Next is number 6 under new business, consideration of resolution 21-22-1153 to enter into a partnership with Saluda County on the construction of an animal care and control facility. I know that of course, the administrator has been meeting with, as has Mr. Talbot, been meeting with the folks of the fine folks in Saluda and trying to work out an agreement, so I'll turn it over to the administrator and let him tell us where we are.
Yes, so a bit of history. There was a memorandum of understanding entered into between Edgefield and Saluda counties back in 2015, and that was to partner in the construction of an animal control facility. Well, those plans ultimately fell through. But on December 12th, and Saluda advised us that they were moving in this direction. On December 12th, 2022, the Saluda County Council voted to recommit to that agreement. See, they've gotten news that we're building this facility, and they really believe that partnering with us is the best way to get their animal control program going. So we formed a working group to develop a formal agreement to make that work if council approves our resolution. And Councilman Talbot, we thank him for participating on that group. So we are going to develop this agreement such that the mechanism of what we're asking for you to approve tonight can go forward. What are the rules that will govern our partnership? So one thing that we want to bring from the old memorandum of understanding, Saluda is agreeable, is that they would pay 25% of the cost of construction of this facility. As we might remember, we approved $554,000 to build our facility. Well, if we're gonna partner with Saluda, we need more capacity. So, to increase capacity at our facility, we would increase the construction cost by $110,000. When council approves the resolution tonight, we would be approving the increase in the construction cost by $110,000. Well, the good news is Saluda County would pay 25% of the total cost, meaning Saluda would pay us $166,000, 25% of what would be the new square footage. So this would reduce the amount that we will use from the American Rescue Plan funds by $56,000. In addition, and this question was asked during the comments, how will Saluda pay us for the ongoing operation? Saluda County will pay fees based on what Edgefield County residents would pay. So just as an example, if there's a Saluda County residence animal there and that person comes to claim it, they would pay the same fees that an Edgefield County resident would pay. But if Saluda County brings us an animal and no one claims it until it's adopted, Saluda County would pay us the boarding fees. The boarding fees take into account the upkeep, maintenance of the facility, the feeding of the animal, the veterinary care, and so forth. So that's how we will fund this going forward with Saluda if council approves this resolution. Thank you.
Okay, so, assuming for a second we approve this resolution tonight, you still have to come back with, the details that you work out with Saluda.
That is correct. We would have to bring the formal agreement back to be approved by council. Saluda County would have to do the same with their council. But we do need to commit to expansion tonight because construction is starting in days.
Okay. Questions or comments from council?
So is this what we are paying Aiken County now? Kind of, sort of.
What are we paying?
We do pay Aiken County a lot of money to house our animals. Is it 120, 140,000? 140,000. Okay, so we are paying a lot of money to take animals to Aiken County. We'll clearly save that money by doing this, and Saluda will actually be paying for use of our facility. Even though they're paying to help us construct it, the fees we collect will go to ongoing staffing, operation, and maintenance. That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
And they're limited to 25%, correct?
They are limited. I say that, if we have.
Correct, yeah.
If we have open kennels, then we will work with them. But they are guaranteed, I think that's the best way to say it, they are guaranteed at least 25% of the kennel capacity, yes.
And it works conversely, if we have more animals and they don't, we would use some of their kennels.
That is correct,
It works the same way,
yes.
until they needed them, if we had to do that.
That's correct. Now, we do expect this to get off the ground slowly because they don't have an animal control officer at this time yet. So this will be a new growing learning process for both of us.
Other questions or comments from council? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to give approval to Resolution 21-22-1153?
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Moody makes the motion. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Talbert seconds. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Next, council is number 7 under new business, consideration of first reading of ordinance number 21-22-794 to enter into a multi-county industrial park agreement with Aiken County for Project Sable. So I'll ask the administrator if you'd like to tell us a little bit more about this one.
Okay, this ordinance is to establish a multi-county park with Aiken County. Now, this is an Aiken County park, but Edgefield County will benefit from it. This agreement will allow industry in the park located in Aiken County to receive certain incentives from the state and from the county. Edgefield County is going to receive 1% of the fee in lieu of taxes for this development. And this agreement will not involve any investment whatsoever from Edgefield County. And more information will be provided for the second and third readings. This is by title only. Thank you.
Because it's still an economic development issue for Aiken County, then obviously it's just, as we say, by title only tonight, but by second and third readings, before we ever have a public hearing, it'll be, advertised as in what Project Sable actually is. But again, it's an Aiken County industry, not in Edgefield County. We just benefit.
That's correct.
Okay. Questions or comments from council? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion to give first reading to ordinance number 21-22-794?
So moved.
Ms. Harlan makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And Mr. Moody seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. All right, council, we're to the second comment period. So I'll ask the clerk, did anybody sign up for the second comment period? Oh, yeah, thank you. All right, so for, let me look right here for a second. Okay, so we have several people who signed up. So I hope everyone was here the first time, but let me explain the rules one more time. You have a total of 5 minutes maximum to speak. The clerk will notify you when there's 4 minutes, and then there's 5 minutes. You can't yield your time to anyone else. And other than that, I think everybody knows the rules. So with that, I'll start with as you signed up. So Carl Long.
Carl Lown.
Lown, I'm sorry.
Lake Town. I've known you forever, but anyhow, thanks for hearing me again. And what I'm here tonight for is some budget stuff, some other things. But I think that Edgefield County needs to seriously look at increasing the budget this year coming up. I know people don't want to hear that because with the 2% raise you're giving the employees, and I understand they have people have in the offices, but the Sheriff's Department and the EMS Department and Planning and Zoning, they are out in the street doing their jobs, dealing with the public, putting themselves in danger, dealing with COVID, dealing with drugs, dealing with giving Narcan, way above what an office employee would give. They deserve more money. They need more funding to protect the citizens of Edgefield. Edgefield continues to beg people to come to Edgefield, build more houses, build an industrial park. Well, you want more, but you don't give more for EMS, police, and fire. And we are pretty poor at all three of those. And I could give examples if you like, but I'll try not to do that. But planning and zoning, they need more help. If you were to go in and read, and I plan to start coming to the meetings and reading you the planning and zoning sections of what are supposed to be planned and zoned and followed in the ordinances, the animal thing. They do not have enough people to enforce the codes and ordinances in this county dealing with houses, animals, nuisances. I turned in a nuisance report with 6 signatures last month. It has not received one word other than Clark said he would let us know. This is in the codes and ordinances. You take it over to them, they don't even know it exists. Do you realize we have a complaint nuisance petition? It says when we fill this out and have more than 3 signatures, it's supposed to come before council and be voted on. We have one turned in that's over a month old now. It deals with Sheriff's Department and planning and zoning. That's just one of the things I'm talking about. You need to go in and scrub some of these things. If you're not going to enforce them, then you need to get rid of them, because you tell people you're going to do it, but then the answer is we don't have the people to enforce it, and we don't know what you're talking about. We've never seen it. Well, here it is. It's in codes and ordinances under nuisances. All right? Sheriff's Department. It's time for the Sheriff's Department to have more than 3 deputies on the road. Y'all sit here, You don't look at it in the big picture. You're putting their deputies in danger when you only have 3 people on the road and you need more than 3. They're budgeted more than 3, and you can't keep them because you're not paying them enough. Last night's a fine example. They had a call up here at Hurlong Ford. The deputy's chasing somebody. The other deputy responded from the south side, which means down around the camp. They running in excessive speed. I won't give an example, but all you have to do is stand out on Highway 25 and watch them when they fly down the road. They're putting citizens in danger. They're putting themselves in danger to help the other officer that needs help because we don't have enough officers. It's pathetic. Next thing is EMS. EMS last night. Funny, all this happened last night, and I've got more examples. Last night they had 2 calls they could not respond to because they don't have enough ambulances to respond to calls. And when they take people, they take them to Greenwood and these outlying hospitals where they can't get back in time. People are sitting here, and the coverage, naturally, the calls that come in are in areas where the fire departments are not trained or qualified to have emergency responders, so you just sit and wait. You need to train people. Edgefield needs to look at getting better fire departments. Also, the fire departments need to get up to standards. There are no in Chapter 2 of the County Codes and Ordinances, there is no qualifications for the most dangerous job in America, which is fire department. All it says is, fire department, and we giving you money, and it's taxpayers' money. You're just funneling money. You don't know what it's going for. There's no requirements for the chief, assistant chief. They could drive a dune buggy. It don't even say they have to have a fire truck. There's no information as to what you need to be to have a fire department. So I'd like to start mine 5 miles from where I'm at and start getting some of that $50,000. But either way, we need to look at it as a whole because we are responsible. And when you get a deputy, an EMS, and don't think that when there's a call backed up that they're not exceeding the speed limit to get across the county
5 minutes.
to do it, okay? Look at the time. It's a CAD. It'll tell you how long.
Thank you. All right, next is Amanda Israel.
I apologize, I meant to sign up the other sheet and I signed the wrong one, but I thought, well, it's still worth me getting up here and at least sharing a little bit of my side on the whole situation with the Turk Street property. I haven't really followed it the whole time from 2018 or whenever it started, but when I was reading yesterday and I saw some of the things that were said and done about appraisals and market value and renovations, I'm thinking to myself, well, the citizens of Edgefield County deserve to get every penny out of the property that the county owns to use those tax dollars for other projects and things. And I just feel like, well, then why wasn't it marketed? And I heard what you said earlier about it being marketed, but I can tell you as a realtor and a broker that we weren't aware that it was for sale. And if I have a home or a property, whether commercial or residential, I would want it to go on full marketing where the public could see it. It wasn't on any of the MLS services so that the world could know that it was for sale. It wasn't out there. It kind of seems like it was hidden in places because I didn't know to go there. Rewind back to July, I did have a client that, not anyone that's in here, by the way, but it was a client who said to me they heard that property might be coming for sale. They wanted to submit an offer. I wrote up the offer for them. It was above, $50,000 due to client relationship. I don't want to say exactly what it was for, but it was above $50,000. And I went to my client and I was like, well, who is that I need to present this offer to? Where does it go? Because I couldn't find any information online. I don't come to all the council meetings to follow them. I run multiple businesses. I just don't have time to always come here for everything. And then they got cold feet and pulled back and said, I think it's already sold and done. Now, this was towards the end of July, so I don't know where that falls in your timeline. But an appraisal normally says the value of a property is based on its current condition. So I haven't seen the appraisal that was done recently. I don't think it was shared with anyone. I may be wrong in that, but I would love to see it because I look at appraisals all the time. And most of the time, an appraisal is value at the current condition of the property. And a buyer takes on that property and takes on that responsibility for any renovations or things that they would do, whether it's with asbestos or whatever it may be. But the appraiser done the appraisal based on current condition. Maybe not for asbestos renovation because they don't know what's going to be done with it, but it is current condition, meaning knowing that it does need renovation. $100,000, $50,000 is a lot of money that could go towards nonprofits or towards the police officers or things. But on market value, you might get much more than $100,000. The last 2 years, our market has shown that most properties go on the market and they go above list price. We've had bidding wars and 5 and 7 offers on a property as soon as we put it on. Commercial properties are very, very hard to get your hands on. I just feel like nothing personal here. I just wish that it would get real, true market exposure and a chance for a property to be able to be purchased through whomever it is in this country or any country that wants to pay top dollar for it. Appraisers have a saying that says a property is not worth more than what a buyer's willing to pay. How do you know what a buyer's willing to pay if nobody knows that it's for sale? I mean, you can hide it or, put it in the government place, but most people don't go to government websites to look for a property, especially in Edgefield County, for sale. So I just really felt like that it was principle, it was something that needed to be spoken about, and coming from my position of what I do in my work, that I wanted to stand up for the citizens of Edgefield County and hopefully fix something that was wrong. Last thing I'd like to mention is I understood what Ms. Ireland said about the Mr. McCracklin and his situation and the fact that he came in and made an offer. And although I think that is honorable that you'd want to honor
4
someone
minutes.
that made an offer, but you should also want to honor the taxpayers here and what we've put out in our tax dollars, and that maybe Mr. McCracklin should get an opportunity to purchase it, but wrong for the citizens should be righted first before we go back and sell it much lower value than what it might bring.
Thank you. Next is John Hudson.
John Hudson, Martintown Road. First thing, what I got to say is to everybody, not just this council, to the sheriff's department, to the court system, to employees, voters, landowners, we are accountable. And the first thing is to be said is, what I've heard tonight from the Lord is there is no condemnation for those in Christ Jesus. We're going to get through this. Amen? Amen. If we don't, we'll all go to hell. We'll go together, I reckon, because this country's going there if we don't start standing up, okay? That's the only reason I come here tonight, and will anytime, is because I don't like to back up, but in the past, this council has took and voted on stuff that wasn't the people's choice. It was, the Lord told me I had to speak it because I didn't do it last time. You that vote in the shadows, do you not know that he hears what you say in your bedchambers? Do not think Christ is dead. This year the word is going to go forward with or without us. And so this is about all of us included out here. It's got to be about kingdom business. Trying to make men happy and people happy and God happy, you get transgender. You get pedophiles because we're trying to make everybody happy. You can't do it. We are failing. I failed until I surrendered my life. That's another reason why I'm up here, because there is a God, and he's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So we must be about kingdom business. The sheriff's got to do it. We all got to work together. I love the sheriff. I'm glad we've made our change, and I pray that we can all put on brakes and that we can regroup and make righteous decisions so that we won't give over our county schools and everything else to pedophiles or whatever. You either stand for something or you don't. Your yays are yays, your nays are nay. And there is no in between. Lukewarmness, God spews you out of his mouth itself. So we all need to grow up. We need to work together and make righteous kingdom business decisions, not for man, not for businesses and corporations, but what's right for our county and our land. Because we're already spending money on land that have water problems. And we need to have a group to get together to start studying that, because if not, we'll be like Augusta. It all gets washed away and spend billions to try to save the land because we overdevelop. And the people had spoke, do not overdevelop this county. Y'all can reverse that decision that was done wrong on the third reading. We can get this county back and not overdevelop it. Either you're going to be with us or you're against us. And it's that simple, in Jesus' name. Thank you for your time. May you continue to try to do a good job.
Thank you. All right, council, that's everyone who has signed up for the second public comment period. So I will close that and move on to the new item we talked about at the beginning of this meeting, reports from county council members. Does any county council member have a report tonight? A report? Any county council member have a report tonight? Okay. Hearing none, then I'll move to the report by the county administrator.
Thank you. The Animal Care and Control Working Group prepared a list of main points that will form a basis of the formal agreement with Saluda County. We have submitted those to Saluda County. We've gotten positive comments. We wait on a formal approval of those. Once we agree on the terms, we'll draft the formal agreement, bring it to council for consideration. Saluda will do the same. On the Law Enforcement Center, happy to say that we know that site has been cleared, but major earth moving is beginning in earnest. So we have our first meeting tomorrow with the contractor to give us the status of that project. I'd like to give out a praise to Joe Simpson. During the recent extreme cold, water leaks were reported at 5 convenience centers. The county shop flooded, and Bettis Park. So a huge thank you to him. He came in on his day off. He worked long hours to restore water for those facilities. A lot of problems at Bettis Park, so he hasn't quite finished all of those yet. Some of it's under the sidewalk, but he's done a great job on that. Another item on Bettis Park, as you might remember, we received a Parks and Recreation Development grant to redo the bathroom roof and the electrical. We did get several bids for roofing. Brighter Side Roofing won the bid for that, and they tell me they'll begin that project in the next couple of weeks to re-roof the bathroom at Bettis Park. Dates to remember, we have the council retreat, January 10th at 5 p.m. The public is invited. And then the Joint Council Planning Commission meeting, January 24th at 6 p.m. And that's all. Thank you.
Council, any questions for the administrator? Okay. All right, then we'll move to my comments. First, I want to thank council for re-electing me as chairman. It's an honor and a duty that I don't take lightly. I look forward to working with each and every one of you. Also, I want to again welcome Jerry Moody to his first official meeting as a council member. We're all happy you're here now. I also want to thank council for working through tonight's agenda. It's starting out to be a busy year, and that said, the busy year starts with a busy January. Now that tonight's meeting is almost behind us, I want to reemphasize that we have 3 more meetings this month that will set a path to bring out the best in Edgefield County. So first, again, I just want to repeat this so everybody gets it. On January 10th, council has its retreat right here in the county council chambers beginning at 5 p.m. We'll discuss the projects we'd like to pursue in the short term and the long term for our citizens and our county's future. Out of this retreat will come the next Edgefield County Strategic Plan, which sets our vision as a council. If any citizen has input for this meeting, the time to give it to us is prior to January 10th. The next call meeting this month will be a joint meeting with the County Council and the Planning Commission. That meeting will be held January 24th, right here in the council chambers, beginning at 6 p.m. The Planning Commission handles a lot of critical work for our county, and this joint meeting is our chance to ensure we're on the same page moving forward. Finally, on January the 30th, we have our annual intergovernmental meeting with our elected and appointed officials, which is hosted by County Council. In this meeting, we get to hear in which areas we can work together for the improvement of Edgefield County. This meeting will be held at 5:30 p.m. at the Edgefield Senior Citizen Center, since we usually have more than 50 officials attending. So I think we're all looking forward to all these meetings. I don't have any additional comments. We have an executive session to have our annual performance review for the clerk to council and the administrator. I would entertain a motion to move into executive session for that reason. Ms. Ireland makes a motion, Dr. Kenyon seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. I'll ask council to chair. All right, we're live. All right, the council has returned from executive session into public session. No action was taken in executive session. Council, there being no more business on the agenda, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Arnold makes the motion. Dr. Kenyon seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Yes, you are. I'm going to bed.
Good job. You had to work. I had the easy part.
But you know what?
When I went through it, and I went through it double time.
Okay, I will, I promise.
You double check. Double check. And I did. I went back.
I'm gonna tell Daddy and Twin were here tonight.
Tell him I shop out of a box too.
It's just a little tedious, but, a little bit tedious, but, but we have to do a little tedious thing.